it's like, who are you in this grand picture? What is your role? What are you trying to bring? What are you able to bring to other people, to the world? And I'm so sure that connecting to purpose is the way that our life will, that our planet will thrive also.
Welcome to Sustainability Transformations podcast, where we explore bold ideas to drive positive change for people, the community, and business. And today's guest is Cedric, and is a holistic health coach and purpose-driven transformation guide who left the comfort of a steady corporate IT job to help others reconnect with their inner voice and live transformative, sustainable true calling. And the goal or theme of our conversation today is to explore how the inner transformation through practices like inner child work or mindset shift and holistic health can unlock their purpose-driven, sustainable lives and ripple into more sustainable societies. Cedric, thank you so much for joining us. What was the first moment you realized your successful life on the outside didn't quite match how you felt inside?
Mm-hmm. Hey, my man, thank you so much for hosting, and thanks so much for joining, for inviting me. So yeah, I'm really glad to hear and talk about all of this. Basically, this all happened maybe 7-8 years ago when I was still in my corporate job, when I was just following the safe route, the route that was somehow most safe and well paid and whatever, like all kinds of ideas that we have about these jobs, and like working in a corporate firm like BMW, the car manufacturer. So I also took the route of IT because I thought, okay, this is going to be the sustainable option for the future. But from the beginning on, actually, I didn't really feel that drive towards the topic. I didn't really feel connected to the people that I was working with and with the topic, with the product. So it has been a long journey for me to get out of there, because yeah, everything was pretty comfortable. But like also in general, when I look back, I really see that life was kind of mediocre. Like it was really not really super good. It was not bad. It was just like in the middle. But I felt that this is not the way it's supposed to be. That's not the way I want to live my life. And so I was looking around for years and following different ideas, which was also, from what I see now, is the turning point is to just take the first steps into the direction that sparks some interest, that sparks some intention and power inside of you. And so when I was going a few detours also, but it's part of the thing when I was now looking back, to see that taking these first steps and taking all of these journeys into self-development and meditation and nutrition, finally understanding that we are such a complex and holistic, interconnected system. Like everything is so interconnected with each other. And so when you're supporting yourself with good nutrition, then you're also able to find out better power in yourself to work out, to create a powerful and structured body. And so also this is giving a lot of opportunities for you to work on your mental health, and the other way around as well. When you work on that mental health and that mindfulness, for example, then you're also much more able to work on the other levels as well. And so this is the idea that I now want to share with other people also, and especially like when inner child work came into play. Like this whole package made a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, that's insightful, and yeah, excited to unpack some of it. From a sustainability point of view, I'm always keen to have these discussions about how to pull out the purpose in the work that we do in order to have this sort of fulfillment. We are enjoying what we are doing. So it's not just a routine, but there is some purpose behind it. And so always keen. So if you can walk us through, okay, how was the transition phase? Because sometimes a transition phase can be, you have all the clarity. So how was the transition from IT at a top car manufacturer to the world of the holistic coaching? How long did it take? Was it a long transition period? If you can perhaps unpack that phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it all begins with this understanding that, okay, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life, basically. And so this is where many of the people stand at the moment. And already this understanding and this decision, okay, there needs to be some shift. This this is already such a big part of this whole journey. And this is what I want to share with the people also. They're not just before starting, they're already on that journey. And so keeping the eyes open, keeping your mind open to the possibilities and exploring your interests are already such a powerful step. And this took many years for me because I had to figure out everything by myself. That's what I thought back then. I need to figure out everything by myself. And so this is also the thing that came up for me, is like asking for help, asking for support is such a powerful and beautiful thing to do, because we're a system of community. We work so well together. We work much better when we are connected, when we are helping each other out. And so, yeah, from this idea of, or from this understanding of, okay, there needs to be some shift. There has been a lot of years just trying to understand what I'm actually interested in. And like this work that was comfortable and not really much to do, it allowed me also, like, I'm really grateful for that. It allowed me to explore this. I had a lot of time to learn more and different things, even without even realizing that this is actually going to drive me to that purpose. It's, looking back, I see like everything, just how it fit together when we take the first steps and just continue to learn and integrate more and more ideas and interests into our mindset.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great insight. I think one of the reasons I asked that question is to highlight that sometimes the transition is not like flicking a light switch from one to the other. It may take some time, and it's okay as long as you are asking the right questions and you are navigating and ensuring that you are going towards the right direction as well. And sometimes the direction could be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but it's still going towards the right direction. It doesn't mean that 2 steps forward, 1 step back in day one has to be day 100. But again, this is where the coaching, so perhaps we can explore the coaching as well, how those comes in. So what role did that emotional disconnect or burnout play in your journey?
A big one, because it has been accompanying me for many years. I was working at BMW for like 7 years, which was like a third of my life at that point. And so yeah, this really like mm, shifted over to all kinds of other areas in my life, and everything felt pretty dull and, yeah, low in energy. And this is also like one of the first things that I could learn with through inner child work, is to, or especially through the emotional intelligence part, which is a big part of my work. We can dive into that a little bit later also, to being able to connect to my body again, to connect to the emotions that I have been kind of pushing away, because I saw, like, I was really empathic as a child, and I was taking a lot of the suffering in. And then with the work and my surroundings, with people being unhappy with their jobs, everything felt, got stuck with me. And learning how to properly process emotions in a healthy way again was such a powerful tool for me. And this realization also that what I did as a child is to disconnect from my body to escape the negative emotions, quote unquote. But there's also no way you can disconnect from that and also not disconnect from the uplifting, positive ones. So it goes both ways. And so integrating that, really feeling the highs and lows again, and being more in tune with myself, was the big shift that really changed everything and make me help move with more purpose, move with more power into that direction that I want to live.
That's good. So in this world where, not blaming social media, but it's probably safe to say most people will post the good side of their life or the good moments, which might be, they are in a beautiful restaurant or, a beautiful place. But what's the difference between looking successful, feeling fulfilled, would you say?
I think it's that connection to a vision of yours where you feel like, okay, this is what I'm here to do. Even if it's not the clear picture, you feel, okay, this is the emotional states that I want to experience. This is how I want to be with myself, how I want to be with others. Living in tune with that, living in tune with these values and these characteristics that you just want to feel, embrace, and also share with other people. Like, this is for me what really makes, success, basically, in that term. It's success that we often try to portray, or that's so in the focus. That's where it also will come, as soon as we're living the truth and living with that purposeful energy in our lives.
Yeah, that's good. So we hear a lot about the inner child, and there is a lot of link with purpose, and some even link it to burnout. Perhaps you can help us how that inner child relates to adult struggles. So the inner child, adult struggles like anxiety, purpose-driven, and burnout, if you could.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's such a powerful or interesting topic. Is from what I've seen now in these years of working with myself and working with people, is that understanding that all the things that we are going through is basically all a representation of what we have stored in our subconscious that we're able to receive and realize in our lives also. And like all of these struggles, especially, they're often just this repetition of these old childhood topics, especially the emotional a component of it. So the inner child is basically this representation of everything that we've experienced in childhood. So not just the bad parts, not just the shadows, but everything, also all the characteristics and values that are so natural to children that we can learn to live again also. Like this joyfulness, this creativity and empathy, just this openness towards life in life back then, especially because a child's brain also works really differently. Like it just takes in everything that it sees unfiltered, and takes in all of these informations about what is a good way to behave, what is it to be with myself, with others, and what can I learn, what we learn about ourselves, about the world, how easy it is to earn money, for example, or if we are able to trust other people only. And this all shows up in our current life at the moment. We see these are the situations that are going well, is because back then as a child we understood, okay, this is the way it works. We can trust people, for example. But if you see right now that these struggles show you that you cannot trust people, then it's so often, almost always, this root in the childhood where these emotions, especially again coming back to that emotional intelligence part also, like at some point these emotions of the situations that we experienced were just too much to handle, and we couldn't really process them. We didn't have support by a caregiver, by the parents, and so it's like this emotion that just wants to be felt. Like no emotion is good or bad in any way. It just want to be felt, want to be experienced, and when it couldn't because we didn't have the capacity, when it gets frozen and we get stuck and we move away from the connection of ourselves or with others, with the world, and we build these limiting beliefs around ourselves, around how we have to be in the world or how the world is towards us. And so this really gets stuck. But yeah, that's a big part that we can integrate again. Yeah, move back to authenticity and connection to ourselves.
Yeah, that's good. Talking about the limiting beliefs, perhaps we can explore that. Perhaps before that, I'll give you a context of what I think around the limiting beliefs. So bear with me with perhaps this context where there were some experiments which were done where they had wild dogs. They chained them, they had a meat. So the dog would try and grab this meat, but the chain on the dog was not long enough to grab the meat. And the experiment they did, after some time, finally, maybe weeks or months or years later, when they bring the meat in front of the dog wouldn't go for the meat anymore. And I find that personally, from my own experience and the people I grew up around with, because we may have reached, or people before me may have reached for things which they couldn't get or have experienced personally or in the environment. I think it gets to a point where you fall into the trap of having a limiting beliefs that it can be done.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if that context was a good example. So the question now is, why do limiting beliefs originate from childhood experiences, and how can we safely begin to dissolve them?
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful experiment also, and a good explanation for this idea that often the patterns and these limiting beliefs were created as a means of protecting us, for example, or as a means of, okay, with this example, okay, we just don't have to use up so much energy because we cannot reach that point anyways. And so it's an intelligent process, but often, really often, our current situations in life they're not the same as we experienced back then. And so we just lock ourselves in these cages of these limiting beliefs. Like we said, that they so often stem from childhood because it's often rooted, or always rooted, to these emotional experiences that we try to avoid. For example, when we learned, okay, fear, for example, is too much for us to experience, we try to get everything safe. We just don't cross the comfort zone anymore. We try to just stay in our circle and not trust other people. And so these limiting beliefs, they correspond to that, and they also correspond to that emotional component that wasn't processed. And being there for the inner child, like being exactly the person that it would have needed back then, is exactly the thing that's then healing this emotional component, and therefore also this idea that was created through that strategy that was formed.
In your coaching work, what does a typical breakthrough look like for someone doing this inner work? Maybe an example or what it looks like.
Yeah, the idea is never to just go out into the past, just to stir up some old shit, or just to find trauma, for example. We're always starting in the present moment. We're always starting, okay, what is actually happening right now? What is not really working well, not the way you want to, or you're not able to express yourself in the way that you would love to. You see, okay, how's that feel inside of me? So that there's this, again, holistic approach to feel the body, the somatic approach of feeling how is the body reacting to that situation in the moment. Where's that emotion, and where's the motion moving, or at least where is it stuck? Also to feel in a really meditative state, not really like in other therapies. There's a lot of talking and trying to understand a lot, but with this approach, it's really about feeling and connecting to the body, breathing, holding that space. And when we do that, breathe through these emotions, not trying to push them away anymore, which is so often what happens through social media, for example, or through drugs or whatever. When we really stay with it, we breathe through it, then we can loosen up a little bit. And then often there's this question of, where did the child that you once were experience exactly that emotion? Because like I said, it's often just this repetition. Where did it happen for the first time? Where it was too intense, you didn't have proper support by the caregiver or whoever. And then we try to be exactly that person that it would have needed. We hold that space. Just when you think about maybe your cousin or your niece or whatever, like how would you be, for example, to that child if it was super distressed or angry or whatever? Maybe you have some ideas already.
Like for
How would you help
the
it
childhood?
go through this emotion?
Well, to be honest, it's just having a conversation, asking them how they feel, and making them feel it's okay to feel how they are feeling, perhaps acknowledging. That's perhaps how I would start. I'm not sure if it's the right one.
Yeah, no, that's exactly that. We would validate their situation, how they're feeling, or try to be curious and see what is actually going on. How does it feel when they're so scared or so angry? Because often also the emotions come up in these layers, and anger, for example, it just feels powerful, right? So it gets to the forefront even though there's this fear or this sadness below it. And so we would try to be really curious and empathic, just holding space for the child and validating its experience, not trying to push it away again. Like, okay, like for example, me or like many of us have received the message of, you don't have to be sad, or don't be so angry, or a big man doesn't cry, or whatever. It doesn't get you anywhere, because these emotions are there and they need to be processed. That's the only thing. And like studies have shown, like if emotions are really processed in that way, they can come up and reside within 90 seconds actually. When we really allow ourselves to feel, move them in the body, then they can get us the information, or especially like anger, such a powerful energy that helps us to protect ourselves, protect others, hold our boundaries. And emotions just want to give us some information. They want to give us felt experience of being alive also. And so, yeah, exactly. This is what we're trying to do in the sessions, in that meditative state, to go back and connect to that small version of ourselves that would have needed exactly a person like you to listen, to be empathic, to hold the space and breathe with it. And this is what it needs. And this is when this stuck energy that I was talking about gets freed up again and gets moving. And that's what we can also not just stay there, but we can also get that to take a big loop into a future, into that vision that I also talked about, into who we actually want to be. How do we want to be with ourselves, with others in that situation, for example? And then there's this idea of neuroplasticity, that our brain can adapt and create new supporting beliefs instead of the old ones. This is also where the integration is so important, to always get back into that field of how does it feel to be so confident in yourself, or to be able to trust other people, and all kinds of supporting beliefs that maybe may have been the opposite of that limiting one.
Yeah, that's good. As you were exploring it, just to highlight from a sustainability point of view, leaders, it's becoming clear the type of leadership which is needed in companies is that transformative leadership. And leaders have to be able to support employees. So there might be a leader or a manager, and you have to be able to diffuse any tension within the team. These skills that Cedric is mentioning are great skills that your ability to be able to acknowledge those emotions, acknowledge such tensions can, as you mentioned, a few seconds, issues that could be a week. Your leadership employing some of these skills can squash these issues within the team in a week before it becomes mums in the team and it starts to grow and dissociate the teams. So how do um, purpose and sustainability, whether is positive impact of sustainability, where perhaps you can define what purpose is and how that intersect with sustainability of positive impact, and you can explore what that positive impact is in your worldview.
Mm. Yeah, sure. And also just circling back to what you said before, I really like that that way you expressed that is also like a sustainable approach to leadership and also to working in a team is understanding that like personal and work is never really separate. It's the same field and is also like based on the same rules, or like this repetition compulsion, for example, that we attract similar situations or people. Also, it might be work, but it's the same thing. It's life, and we attract the people into our lives that get the triggers in ourselves up, because life wants us to understand more about ourselves. Wanted you, for example, to understand that listening is more important than just always trying to fix it directly, which is really common, and I understand that fully. Yeah, this is what we can understand is that in teams, these situations will come up in close relationships, in partnerships, and also work in that sense. Life will bring up these situations where really deeply emotional reactions are triggered. And that's when we know, especially when it's deeply emotional reaction. It always, and when there's one finger pointing towards the other, for example, there's also three more pointing towards yourself to show you that there's something in relation to that. There's some emotion that you can process again, something that you can learn about yourself. Yeah. Now fully lost track of the question that I tried to answer.
Yeah, we were trying to link what purpose was and how sustainability they intersect from a worldview. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, purpose is not something super personal. It's like, who are you in this grand picture? What is your role? What are you trying to bring? What are you able to bring to other people, to the world? And I'm so sure that connecting to purpose is the way that our life will, that our planet will thrive also. Because like there's so many people at the moment that are, like I did, are working in a job, getting paid for something that they don't really resonate with, and they're just doing it half-assed. But if everybody would really connect to what they want to share, then they would be also, first, they would be successful. They would have more energy to work towards that and bring more growth also. This is what we need. We need beautiful ideas to work on sustainability in climate wise or management wise. This is for me how it connects. And I'm sure that we're walking into that direction. And again, when we understand that working together in community and everybody's really so energetic because they're working towards their own purpose and their own interests. That's how we can get out of the critical situations that we're facing right now and go
Yeah.
towards that beautiful change.
That's great. So, what's your view on veganism or the food health choices, if I may use that term, not just for the body, but also for the planet? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like for me, like this idea to focus more on the plant-based options, on really working on like integrating a whole food and plant-based diet is such a powerful thing for ourselves, because our body is thriving, and I see that with myself also, is thriving more when we cut out these processed foods, and we try to cut out animal products that bring up a lot of inflammation. And also, maybe that's a good example actually. Like, I'm currently also doing a training with a mentor that has been a doctor for maybe 40 plus years, and he realized that anxiety, for example, or like in this case, anxiety was really rising in Germany at some point. It was like early 2000s, I think. And in Austria, where he was based, so next to that, just basically it's almost the same thing. Like, also nutrition wise, it's almost the same. But he realized that this anxiety is really rising in Germany and in Austria. Only after a few years, it also started to rise. And this period was exactly when the farmers, they couldn't slaughter, they couldn't kill their own cattle anymore. They have to bring it to these big slaughterhouses, where they first get the transport, and they stand in line basically to get killed. And so there's a lot of fear and a lot of hormones that are just so present in that animal just before it gets killed. And before that, it wasn't that way. And so it just makes sense that these hormones, this fear, this energy just gets transmitted to the people that are eating the meat also. And so, like, when this started to happen in Austria also, they couldn't do that. They had to bring it to the slaughterhouses. That's when this anxiety also went for a big rise in Austria as well. Just like one of these understandings that what we ingest really has such a big impact on ourselves, on our energy, and the hormones that are running through our system. Yeah. Sustainable, we have a lot of data that supports that eating in a plant-based diet really helps a lot to cut out on waste, on CO2 emissions, and all kinds of other factors that also, for me, that it just feels good, like, to know that you're not contributing to these factors anymore, and to that unnecessary punishment, that killing and the pain of the animals that they have to experience just for us to eat, because there are so many options, right? And even if it's just reducing, this was my first idea, was just reducing that amount, because it was just incredible for me when I started, like, because I was forced to look at it through a friend, how much meat I'm actually consuming, like, every day in some way. And then just reducing that was a powerful thing. And then in the end, I realized there are so many options that I don't have to rely on that source of protein, that source of nourishment anymore.
Someone is watching, is a leader, or from an individual perspective, how does the work, the coaching, if I may use that term, how does it, what are the levels? Is it, the initial 90-day program, or is it a 6-month program? And do you work with corporates, just to give a sense to the listener who may be thinking about, taking a step,
Yeah.
perhaps before we finish our conversation?
Yeah, for sure. And I could share that this is what I try to get really flexible for the clients, also depending on their situation, on the corporate situation, for example. Also, like, there are actually also topics that can be resolved in just one session, basically, when we really fully get into it and we arrive at that childhood situation, learn to process it and let go of it. It just needs that integration afterwards. So this is also why I offer like these one-on-one sessions, but especially also like working in longer term to help the people integrate that and to talk about it, how they can get back on track if they fall out. So I got this 4-month program, for example, which has been shown for me to be a really good time frame to connect to that vision, also to understand, okay, what I'm actually here to do, for example, depends on the goal of the client also. If it's about finding purpose, then to find that vision, find out how we can connect the strengths of theirs to get that picture of where do I want to move next? And also because setbacks are so natural and so important also. Because like I said, I had these detours and going back and forth, coming back to that and also seeing what comes up to really integrate again old wounds that come up and to move back into the future, into that vision of yourself. So these 4 months have been a good approach for me. Like I also love to offer the first session. I also always love to offer that basically first off free of charge, just for the people to be able to see if there's resonance with my work, if there's something that they can understand and integrate. And only after that, I love to have this energy exchange in terms of money or like working longer term together. So I always just love to share that first and see if there's resonate there's resonating with that, and not just, of course, people to pay or try to make them dependent on my services. What I'm trying to do in these longer programs is to really teach them how to build that emotional intelligence, to being able to, like I do now, I got these situations still coming up. It's a never-ending story, probably, to learn more about yourself and to heal more. But I can hold myself in that sense. Sometimes it's beautiful to work with others as well, with other coaches. But this is what I'm trying to get the people to learn, how they can do that for themselves and learn without being dependent on somebody else all the time.
Yeah, that's impressive with the value driven at the very start. But yeah, the explanation gives a clear picture for anyone who's keen to explore that journey of transformation. So, what is your final thought for the listeners, whether your final thought for the individual or your final thought for a leader who may be listening and seeing how to implement some of the discussions or maybe even take it further?
Mm. What we say is basically like coming back to your idea of connecting that to sustainability is like a sustainable way for us to move into the future is by connecting with ourselves, with understanding more about ourselves, learning about the patterns and healing from them so we don't have to pass on more pain to the people around us or to our children, because this has been given on for generations, because back then they didn't have the capacity to heal. They couldn't listen to podcasts like this and learn and integrate a lot. So this is what we have the ability to do now. And so connecting to ourselves first and healing, that's also how we're building more connection to the others, working together more easily, learning that we're not just fighting against each other, competing, but working together. And this is what is needed for us to build that sustainable future with connection with ourselves, with the others, with the climate, with the world in general. And yeah, I'm happy to be part of that, to be able to see that shift happening, for us to move in that direction. Beautiful. Thank you for your work also in connecting the people with this knowledge of all kinds of people.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, a huge thank you to Cedric for your time and the incredible insights you've shared. And also thank you to the listeners for tuning in to Sustainable Transformations. Please remember, healing yourself is not just personal growth, it's climate action in disguise. When we transform from within, we create ripples that reshape the world. So until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, and keep transforming. So lastly, Cedric, if listeners want to find more of your work, where can they find you?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have these show notes where they can just click on the link, but otherwise you can find me on Instagram with CED, like said, with underscore and then Pfeiffer, that's the last name. And on my website is holistic minus coaching minus by minus Cedric.com. Or you can just type in like that. It should show up. And yeah, there's a lot of free resources on that. Some meditations for you to just get into contact with the inner child, for example, or to work through the triggers that are just coming up right now, to be able to, not fall into that act, being super angry and hurtful to yourself or to others. So, for example, there's a lot of things going on there. So feel free to check it out. Thank you so much for the option to share that.
Yeah, that's great. Just to confirm, if you're watching or listening, yes, if you look at the description, you see the website and the Instagram link. So it should be easier for you to just click on it and contact Cedric. So thank you once again. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.